Hey, good morning, everybody. Paul Abernathy here. Got another mobile Let's Ask Paul. Figured I would just holler at you. Go over to fasttrackstube.com and join our annual membership. It's $99, but you get access to all of the videos and everything that we post there that's exclusive, and some other stuff that just kind of collected it in one location. Then I would love the support. That's one of the better ways to support us. And you get something for your money. You get videos. And if you want to get any cool swag, check out our website. Our minimalist wallets, our etched wallets, are available now over on fasttracksystem.com. You'll see a link up at the top about our shop or our store or whatever you call it. And pick up a minimalist wallet. I love mine. I keep it every day. All right. So I've been pretty active on TikTok. And on TikTok, I've been pretty darn active. And I don't know why, but I've been pretty active on there. And we were talking about continuous loads, and somebody said, Paul, can you explain continuous a little bit better? And so it's kind of one of those things where when you're talking about continuous loads, people get confused because they want the code to be more like an instruction manual, right? They want it to actually point blank say things that it's gonna, trade knowledge is key, because the NEC is just a working manual. But it's not an instruction manual. It's a minimum safety document. People hate when I say that, but it is, because anything you do below that is not considered safe. Anything you do in compliance with the NEC is not 100% safe, because nothing can be 100%, but it's an acceptable level, and so it's a minimum. Now, people say they go above the minimum. That's your choice. You certainly don't have to. It doesn't make you any better electrician. As long as you're compliant. That's half the time. That's what I'm shooting for. I want you to just be compliant. All right. So they talk about continuous loads, and there are certain areas in the National Electrical Code, for example, that will tell you to take things as continuous loads. And I've been using lately an example because it's real popular right now to talk about EV, electric vehicles, and things like that, chargers, is that in 625.41 and 42, it kind of alludes to being continuous loads, and it tells you that's in a continuous load. Now, good news for us, started in the 2020 and expanded into 2023, that when you're doing a feeder or load calculation or service calculation, and you can use an energy management system and kind of control the loading. And that's important because your house, you might be putting an EV in and you don't have enough capacity. So you need that benefit of some type of monitoring or whatever to be able to dial it in or control the settings on your charger, right? But when it comes to branch circuits, it's pretty clear that you take these as a continuous load. So that's not the topic for this mobile podcast. The topic is talking about continuous loads. Now, if the code tells you to take something as a continuous load, all that's saying is, okay, now take this as a continuous load, or it will say take it at 125%, which is equivalent to taking something as a continuous load. Now, if you just see something that says take it as a continuous load, then you have to go and look at what you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a feeder? Are you dealing with a branch circuit? Or what are you dealing with? Now, in our case, we've been using the examples of a branch circuit to an EV charger. Then when you look at 625.41 and 42, again, I'm in the 2023 edition of the NEC, and you look at that, then, and of course, by the way, it's still the same thing in the 2020. It's still stated that it's to be taken as a continuous load. So you take the nameplate and you take whatever that value is, and you do that at 125%. Okay, so we've been using the example, if it's 48 amp nameplate, then you take that at 125%, that's 60 amps. This is why in the manuals it says a 60 amp overcurrent device, because this is a branch circuit, and if you go look at 210.20, you'll also see that it tells you to do it at 125%. Okay, so when we're sizing these branch circuits, because it tells us to take it as a continuous load, when we go and size the minimum size branch circuit in 210.19A1, it specifically says take continuous loads at 125%. But there are, again, areas in the NEC that you have to just simply know that you're going to take it as a continuous load. Let me give you another example. So the definition of continuous load is in Article 100. I encourage people to read it. So another example would be commercial buildings lighting. So I'm going to work, I'm going to be in a commercial building. That lighting is going to be on all day, and it's going to be at its maximum output. Now, if the luminaire can accept a maximum of, I'm just throwing numbers here, if the luminaire can handle a maximum of 90 watts, let's just say, then I might lamp it less than 90 for whatever reason, or I might be able to dim it down, whatever reason. But if the listing for that luminaire is 90 watts, then I could potentially put 90 watts in it. So when I'm figuring out my maximum output, at its maximum output, then if it's going to be on for 3 hours or more at its maximum output, then it's to be considered a continuous load. So that is why when we're doing load calculations, for example, and we're doing commercial buildings, we're going to go to 220.12, and you have this table. And in this table, it already, in the 2023, for example, and in the 2020, it already figures in the 125% in the VA per square foot. It's already done for us. Now, the 2017, it's not. So if you're taking an exam and you're in the 2017, beware of that. But in the 2020, you'll see there's a note underneath the table, and it tells you that. Now, remember, those are notes. Those are very much applicable. They're not informational notes. Those are actual notes, and they're part of the code rule. So there's certain things in the code that we learn, and we have to remember that, okay, well, it has to be taken as a continuous load. And so we have to remember that when we're calculating it out. Again, all commercial lighting, parking lot lighting, all that stuff will be on all night. It certainly will be on 3 hours or more, so we have to take that as continuous loads in our load calculation. Now, the next question people say, well, what about in a dwelling? Well, there's the only continuous load that I know of in a dwelling that specifically calls it out is when you're running the branch circuit to a water heater. And it just says to do it at 125%, right? So in 422, and I believe it's 422.13 or .11 or one of them. Sorry, my mind's mush today. But in there, for a storage tank type water heater, the minimum requirement, not a maximum, a minimum, so I believe it's 422.13. Anyway, the minimum, it says take a branch circuit in the overcurrent at 125%, right? So that's a minimum, okay? Now, that's telling you to take those conductors and do it at 125%. Well, that's equivalent to what you would do if it's considered a continuous load, because that water heater could be, depending on the temperature of the water, it could be running for 3 hours or more at that full element value that's in there, probably 4,500 watt dual elements. It's going to run at its full amount. It's not variable. It's just going to be on, and it could be on 3 hours or more. So it already takes care of that for you. Now, if it had said treat it as a continuous load, then of course you would go to 210.19A1, and we're in the 2023 edition of the NEC, by the way, for those that say, well, mine's slightly different. Again, same area, okay, same ballpark. So some things you just have to learn. But let's say people say, well, hey, what about during Thanksgiving? I'm cooking a turkey in the oven, and it could be in there for 3 hours or more. Yeah, but you got to remember that the range is not all on at 100% for 3 hours or more. It's cycles, temperature, thermostatically controlled, on and off, on and off. If it even breaks it for a second, then it's not continuous. So that's why you don't hear people talk about most of the stuff in a dwelling. Now, I remember years ago somebody argued and said, well, my kid leaves every light on in the house all night long. Yeah, well, that's a choice, but that doesn't constitute a continuous load. In a commercial building, for example, I have no way of turning off the lighting in the building. Except for, I can't go down to the electrical equipment room and then I got to search. No, I don't have a switch that just turns off everything. Same with parking lot lighting. It's just going on. It's staying on. Okay, that's governed by the building. Of course, you might have, you have different building codes for path of egress and egress lighting, and that just all stays on. And as from an electrician standpoint and an engineer, when we're designing something, when we want to do something that's continuous load, we're going to look at the definition and we're going to try to determine whether its load is going to be at its maximum output for 3 hours or more. Not a varying degree of its output. Okay? Its maximum output. And then I'm going to determine whether something's continuous load. And then I'm just going to account for it accordingly, right? If we determine that something's a continuous load, then when we're sizing conductors, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to size a conductor and we're going to take it as a continuous load. Okay. When I think of the NEC and I go specifically into the NEC and anything in the National Electrical Code that point blank tells me to be taken or treated as a continuous load, then I just have to know that I have to treat it as such, right? So I think there is a lot of misconceptions about what is a continuous load and how do we do it, and some people's opinions on what should be considered a continuous load and what shouldn't be a continuous load. As long as you follow the NEC and look at the definition and look at the load and ask yourself, is this going to be at its maximum output for 3 hours or more, right? Then you could treat it as a continuous load. In a dwelling, I would not so far-fetched go to anything that I would consider to be a continuous load, except for like the branch circuit rules for, again, the water heater, storage water heater, 120 gallons or less type water heater. And that just tells you what to do with it. Take it at 125%, right? Other than that, it's really hard-pressed to anything in a dwelling to have to do with that. Commercial buildings, again, you could have specific equipment that, and you could have an engineer that designs something and even puts a receptacle for a piece of equipment and stipulates that that's to be a continuous load. All right, well, then that's a separate branch circuit that you have to account for and treat it as a continuous load, right? But a good thing about things like the EVs is we're seeing now the ability to put in energy management systems and buildings, and you have a bunch of other options where somebody could take the EV system and lock it out. A dealer could lock it out. You have some options for that, and basically dial it backwards. It's not going to charge as quick. But we have to make sure that the customer can't override that. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose. But that does allow people that have an existing service to have additional, EVs added and accommodate whatever their service is right now. And so there is that flexibility. But I think the important thing for me is that everybody understands continuous load. And you're going to have occasions where the code tells you point blank to treat it as such, and there's going to be other occasions where you have to be, know that something is considered a continuous load. Like sign lighting. The sign's going to be on all night. It's a continuous load. That branch circuit's treated as a continuous load. You size it accordingly, right? So hopefully that answers your question. I will tell you that we will have our latest edition of our D-Rating Demystified coming out here shortly. I've mentioned that before. Our D-Rating Demystified 3.0 is what it'll be called. Really digs into these little things about the loads, wind sizing conductors, overcurrent devices, all that kind of stuff. So look for that. That'll be on our fasttrackstube.com when it's out for subscribers. Or our Fast Tracks Plus members who have our Fast Tracks course but get the Plus, then you get access to the Fast Tracks Tube as part of your membership. So make sure if you purchase the Fast Tracks Plus, make sure you read your email that you get with your activation codes, because you do have to do something, okay? You do have to follow some steps in order to be able to activate that. So make sure you go back and check your email if you're not on Fast Tracks Tube and you are a Plus member listening to this, all right? Also, again, I will mention we do have some minimalist wallets available with the Master Electrician and Journeyman Electrician available. I'll even customize it with your name or your state, and even your license number if you want. Just got to let me know when you order it. Just order it and then put something in the comments, your state and your license number or your name. Basically, whatever you want engraved on it or etched on it, I will be more than happy to add that to your order. If you just want it as it is, just order it as it is. So anyway, we again appreciate everybody's support, and hopefully you get something out of the content. If you're not following me on TikTok, please, it's at Master the NEC. That's my same on all of my stuff, pretty much, is the @ symbol, Master the NEC, all one word. So make sure you're following, sharing with other people, getting folks in your company to listen and watch and, listen to our podcast. Get our free mobile app. It's available on necchat.com. It's also available on our website. You'll see the link for it at fasttrackssystem.com. Fasttracks, T-R-A-X, by the way, system.com. You will actually see the link to the mobile app. Just go there, download it on your phone. It's a PWA, so I'm not going to put any harmful stuff on your phone. And it basically just gives you access to it. And make sure you allow to be notified, because we send notifications and coupons and little things out. But I promise you will not get spammed. It is not my thing. So, but get the app, because the app has calculators on it. Has a neat chat feature where you can interact with everybody else that has an app, has the app. So again, you can post pictures and all kinds of other stuff. So make sure you check that out and just go get and download our app. It's not available in the Apple Store or Google Play Store, because I don't believe in that. You just get it from our websites. So make sure you check that out. All right, folks, that's all I've got. It was a great little discussion this morning. Hopefully that explained a little bit about continuous loads and how we deal with them. But if you need more in-depth detail on that, well, you can always go to paulabernathy.com, submit your question, let them know what episode this is. Basically, give me a summary of what we discussed, and then ask your question. That way I don't have to go back and listen to the episode again. And then I'll do my best to answer your question. Be as detailed as you can, and I'm more than happy to reply back and give you as much help as I can. Remember, I'm here to help you become a better electrician. It is not about me. People say that all the time. Paul's just about him. Dude, if you know me, then you know me. Obviously, I have to put things out there because we're a business. But at the end of the day, I'm here to help you become a better electrician. Sometimes I'm brass or right to the point, or I'm an equal opportunity offender. But at the end of the day, I mean nothing by it. I really don't want you to be offended. I might get snarky on you, but I'm just really playing with you, and I'm hoping that you learn something from our content. Okay, and we appreciate all support. I do not pay for advertising. So again, sharing our courses with other electricians, other people that are interested. If you hear anybody that's really wanting to learn the code or preparing for an exam or wants to get better at residential, commercial, grounding and bonding, do me a favor. Just send them to fasttrackssystem.com. That's fasttrackssystem.com, and let us educate them. I appreciate you. Till next time, take care. God bless.